Hey, sports fans, Larry Eater. This is Conversations with Larry. Actually, a dear friend says it should be monologues with Larry, but you know what? Get your coffee, get your Taco Bell super burrito, and I hope you get a better burrito than, well, maybe get a local burrito, okay? And a cup of Pete's coffee, and just hear me out. So, for almost 2 decades, I was going to Europe during the summers to athletic meetings. I started this in the early 2000s at the invitation of a certain Sir Ian Stewart, European champion, Commonwealth champion, Olympic bronze medalist. Ian worked with Alan Pascoe and John Ridgen in a group called Fast Track Agency, one of the premier sports marketing agencies in the world. And they saved British athletics, and sometime I'll do a piece on that too. However, they had, I think, close to 100 million sterling coming into the coffers. And, you know, they took a healthy piece, I think about 20%, but you know what? They're worth it. Anyway, I started going to the meets at Crystal Palace, and I started going to, then they had meets in Birmingham. Then they had then there was obviously 2012 London Olympics. But one of the stalwarts, one of the things that was consistent with all the events in the UK was British athletics media. There were between 5 and 7 people over that decade. And this is what they did for media people like me, sitting at my workspace in Birmingham or Manchester or London or the NAI indoor in Birmingham. I had on my computer flash quotes within 5 minutes of a race being over. I had all the result and breakdown information. I had photos. They virtually gave us everything we needed to do a good story. And guess what? They put it right in front of us. They didn't ask us to go to their website and pull things together, as other groups do. They sent it to us. Now, for people like me, a dwindling group who are track geeks, I'm going to go everywhere, and I'm data mining all the time and pulling stuff down and taking stuff to read. And I've got the help of my brother Brian and Mike Deering and Adam Johnson-Eder from the Shoe Addicts and a group of 40 freelance writers. But for others who are on a deadline, what British athletics media did was tremendous. When you would go to a British meet, they always had the pressers set up. There was photo shots for the sponsors. They took care of Sainsbury. They took care of, Aviva. They took care of all the sponsors at different times. And you'd get top athletes, Mo Farah, Greg Rutherford, Valerie Adams. The names are endless. But the meets were, I think the first one I went to was at Crystal Palace. And Ian wanted me to see how they had a producer for in-stadium, how they had a producer for the TV broadcast, how they had a producer for the global broadcast, and the quality of the event and the planning of the event and the orchestration of the event was fantastic. But for me to write about it and appreciate that, I relied on British athletics media, a young group of folks, and I'm not going to bring their names up because I don't want any retribution to them. And here's my beef. The new CEO of British athletics is Jo Coates, and to my mind, she's doing a splendid job. There are some things that I have concerns about, and as a global villager, not as and as an American, someone across the pond, I've watched British athletics rise from the ashes over the last 20 years. And even in 2018, when some dumb things were done, I still saw, wow, these amazing number of athletes rising up, but also the stories that we write. Stuart Weir, my European correspondent based in Oxford, writes on an average of 150 stories a year for us. My guess is 100 of them so close to 65%, are on British athletes. That couldn't be done without the help of British athletics media. Jill Coates in her cost-cutting needs, because guess what? They've lost sponsors. Why have they lost sponsors? Because management before Joe Coates may have done some things that were not too bright. Where do we start? We can go back to 2011 when they jerked Fast Track Agency around so they could save 15% commission, which was absolute horse shit, because I don't think they brought in a new sponsor and they lost tons of them. And I will repeat the Aviva story one more time with the marketing director there who told me, well, they couldn't do 60 million sterling a year. They could do 15 million. And guess what? UK Athletics didn't even give a crap. Because why? It wasn't a sponsor they had picked. They wanted some different sponsors. They did, and they're paying for it now. I just don't understand federations sometimes. Just because you come in does not mean, as a new leader, does not mean you have to change everything. If something's working, support it. Have the brains and the management skill to know what you need to change and what you don't need to change. One of the things that should not be changed at British Athletics is the British Athletics Media Group, a wonderful group of hardworking young people who love the sport, understand social media. They have stuff up all the time, have the support of the athletes, know how to encourage the athletes to not put dumb stuff up. It's rather infrequent that I see something that I would say, let's just use the term ill-advised by a British athlete. See it from a lot of other countries. When it is said, Stuart Ware said that British Athletics Media is the best media group in the world for a federation. I come pretty close to that. I think the USATF people are pretty darn good too. I think they have under their limitations as well, but they're good people and they love the sport. British Athletics Media is now going to go down from 5 people to 1, which I just think is wrong. And I think that British Athletics is going to pay the price in the social media world and the media world. And what do I mean by that? Part of the reason why we've covered British Athletics is because the plethora of sources and content that British Athletics Media supply us, the number of quotes, the number of great pictures, the articulate athletes, the interviews. I mean, hell, I've got interviews dating back to 2006 on my iPhone that I pull up and use, and people love it because it's kind of fun and cool stuff, and to kind of look back a little bit. It also helps me when I'm writing for World Championships, Olympics, to think about, well, what did Jessica Ennis say about this? Or what did Mo say about this? Or, what did Caleb Hawkins say? All those things add up, and British Athletics Media was doing their job. Their social media presence was fantastic, and they gave their sponsors value for their sterling, okay, or value for their dollars, whatever you want to call it. British Athletics Media's story could be harder to tell now because you're going from 5 people to 1 person. I don't know who they're picking. I think that's a rather tough one. I also understand that Joe Coates is in a terrible position. She's also Cherry Alexander, the woman who's in charge of London 2017, and who has been instrumental in many of the events since then, is leaving as well. And it sounds like much of the group that manages the events for British Athletics is either going freelance or is going bye-bye. Where does this stop? I don't know. I will say that I'm pretty sure they weren't paying British Athletics Media much. So there should be a way to bring those folks back, or just call up Alan Pascoe at Fast Track Agency and say, Alan, please help me find a couple sponsors. I'm sure he could pull one out of his hat. Alan Pascoe is probably the savviest sports marketing person that I know. And the class he showed when British Athletics totally boned him back in 2011, 2012, and what John Ridgen did, and what Ian Stewart did too, just befuddles me. I would have told them to shove it so far up their backside. And the problem is, this is what happens with federations. Someone gets a little jealous of someone else. Someone thinks they can do it better instead of really focusing on the job. And what is the job of an athletics federation? Well, let me tell you. The job of an athletics federation is to help develop athletes so they can be the very best they can when they represent their country, and use them as models for fitness to encourage the general populace to run and be engaged. British athletics media did all those things. That they're being let go even when they did their job and got publicity for British athletics and its sponsors when it really, quite frankly, may not have even deserved it. That's how good they were, and that's how good they are. And if you think British newspapers have nailed British athletics in the past, wait to see the stuff when they can't find sources and can't find people to help them out. Boy, this is not a smart move. Normally, it takes new management a while to make such screw-ups, but this is they've done some good things at British athletics. This is, I would not consider a good thing. My humble thought from across the pond, from lovely Wisconsin, where you can tell me to shut the heck up, is that the British athletics team were quite valuable. They did a lot for us as media. I'm going to miss them terribly. I would write a recommendation for any of them tomorrow to work at a athletics company or at a media company, because they have the skill set and they have the communication skills. Great people. It's sad to see them leaving British athletics. This is Larry Eder. Thank you for listening to my rant on Conversations with Larry. My topic was British athletics media, a reconsideration. If you like RunBlogRun, then like us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. We need the numbers. That's how we get paid. More eyeballs, more pay. And then Larry can get 2 things off the Taco Bell dollar menu. If you love us, subscribe to our YouTube station, okay? I think we've got over 1,000 videos up there now. And we also have great SoundCloud stuff too. We do audio, we do video, we do text. We try to do it as Marshall McLuhan reminds us, the medium is the message. If you don't know who Marshall McLuhan is, turn off all your social media, because this guy predicted this stuff back in 1964 when he wrote The Gutenberg Galaxy. Get that book and read it. Anyway, okay. Larry Eder, the rant is over. Conversations with Larry on the British athletics media, going from a staff of 5 to a staff of 1. It's a sad day in London, it's a sad day in Birmingham, and it's a sad day in Fort Atkinson. Larry Eder signing off.